Hello students, welcome to my economics class. This is Shashikala. Today we are going to discuss about the production and cost chapter 3. So in the previous session already we discussed about the introduction part. So now let us continue with the rest of the concepts. Before starting with the session, let's have a quick recap of the previous contents. We discussed about production is nothing but the transformation of inputs into output. Then we discussed about the four important factors of production: the land, labor, capital, and organization. Then we discussed about the functional relationship between the inputs and the output, that we call it as production function. Then we discussed about the isoquants. So it's nothing but whatever the combinations of inputs that the producer use in the production process yields the same level of output. Now let's move on to today's contents. Today we are going to discuss about the short run and long run analysis of production, the total product, average product and marginal product. We call it as TP, AP and MP. We discuss about the law of variable proportions, the shapes of TP, AP and MP curves, and lastly the law of returns to scale. Now let's see what is this short run and long run analysis of production. Short run and long run do not refer to a specific period. They depend upon how quickly the factor input can be changed. Short run. In this period, production can be changed only by changing the variable factor and keeping the fixed factors constant. So there are two types of classifications in the factors of production. So we say one is the fixed factor, the other is the variable factor. So let me explain this concept with an example. Assume that you are the producer of a shoe manufacturing company and there is a sudden demand for your products in the market. So say for 5 to 6 days you need to increase your production level. So in order to increase the production level, what are the factors that you can change? Here you cannot change all the factors of production in the short run. I already told you only one factor or two factor that you can change. So now let us assume that we are changing only the number of laborers. You can employ the laborers over time and you can increase the production, or you can also increase with it the raw materials. But you are not changing the land and you are not changing the organization. So whichever the factors that you are changing according to your output, those factors we call it as the variable factors. So which are the variable factors we have taken? One is the labor, the other is the raw materials. So this we call it as a variable factors. And fixed factors, land. So land here means the building, and also the organization you are not changing, that we call it as a fixed factors. So in the short period, there is a difference between the variable factors and fixed factors, and hence there will be the difference between the fixed cost and the variable cost. Now coming to the long run. So in this period, producer has sufficient time to change in every factor of production. Here all the factors of production are variable, hence all the costs are also variable. So there is no point of fixed cost and fixed factors. So there is sufficient time to change all the four factors of production: land, labor, capital and organization. Now let us start with the concept total product, average product and marginal product, TP, AP and MP. Firstly, total product. Total product indicates the total volume of goods and services produced during a specified period of time. It is the sum of marginal product. Let's take an example. In 1 acre of land, 5 laborers are working and producing 100 units of paddy. So here the total 100 units of paddy what is produced by the 5 units of labor, we call it as total production. It can be calculated with the help of a formula. TP is equal to summation MP. Next, average product. It refers to the per unit product of a variable factor. It is calculated as AP is equal to TP divided by L. So TP is a total product, L is a labor. Now, if we want to see what is the contribution of each laborer in the previous example. So 5 units of labor, total production is 100 units. So now in order to see what is the contribution of each labor, then we divide AP. So 100 units, that is total product is 100 units divided by 5 units of labor. So here the contribution of each laborer is 20 units. Next, marginal product. Marginal is nothing but the extra production. So here MP is defined as the addition to total product by the employment of an additional factor. So let's take an example. So 5 units of laborers producing 100 units of paddy and 6 units of laborers producing 120 units of paddy. So here, so 120 minus 100. So what is the marginal product here is 20 units. The concept of TP, AP and MP can be explained with the help of a table. So you can observe in this table we have taken total product, average product and marginal product. So all these three things are the output and we have taken one input, that is labor. So here we are studying what is the relationship between this input and the output. Assuming that all the other three factors are constant, land, capital, organization, and we are changing only the labor. So 0 unit of labor cannot produce any output. So that is why TP is 0, AP and MP is undefined. As you increase the laborers, so 1 unit of production, 1 unit of labor produces 10 units of production and AP and MP also remains the same. As you increase the number of laborers, your total production also increases. So third unit of employment, production is 40 units, 4 units of laborers, production is 50 units, 5 units of laborers, production is 56 units. And now coming to the AP. So what is the formula for AP? So AP is equal to TP divided by L. So total production divided by number of units of labor. So 10 divided by 1, AP is 10, 24 divided by 2, 12, 40 divided by 3, 13.33, 50 divided by 4, 12.5 and 56 units of output divided by 5 units of labor, and the contribution of each laborer is 11.2 units. In the same way, we take the marginal product. The formula for marginal product is TP n minus of TP n minus 1. Total product of n minus of total product of n minus 1. So here 24 minus of 10, 14, 40 minus of 24, 16, 50 minus of 40, 10, 56 minus of 50, 6. So this is our marginal product. I hope it's clear with the TP, AP and MP. Now let's move on to the next concept. In this chapter, we study two important theories of production. One is the law of variable proportion. We are going to study in the short run analysis. The other is the law of returns to scale. We study in the long run analysis. So the law of variable proportion. So in the short run, there will be a difference between the fixed factors and variable factors, and what happens with this proportion of fixed and variable factors on the output. We are going to study the behavior of production in the short run. On the other hand, in the law of returns to scale, when we change all the factors of production, what will be the impact on the production output? So that we are going to study in detail in these two theories. So before starting with the theories, now we'll assume that there are three fixed factors: land, capital and organization. We are not changing, we are keeping it as fixed. We are changing only the variable factor, that is labor. The very important theory in production, law of variable proportions. So this law explains the relationship between the inputs and output. Here two types of inputs. One is the fixed input, variable input on one side, and the output on the other hand. In the short run, if a firm wants to expand its production, it can do so by increasing its variable input, keeping the fixed inputs constant. So as a result, the proportion between the fixed and variable factors gets changed. So such a situation is called the law of variable proportions. So in this short run analysis, the production takes place in three different stages. First stage, second stage, third stage. The first stage, increasing returns; second stage, diminishing returns; third stage, negative returns. So this theory can be explained with the help of a table, schedule and the diagram. So in the schedule you can observe that we have taken land, capital and labor, and also the output, total product, average product and marginal product. So here you can observe that land is a fixed factor. So land, we have taken only 1 acre of land and we are not increasing or decreasing the land according to the output. We are keeping it constant. In the same way, the capital in rupees 10,000, it is also constant. We are not changing it. And we are only increasing the laborers in order to increase our production level. So now let's see what happens if we are keeping these factors constant and only one factor we are changing. So this we call it as the proportion. So between the fixed factors and the variable factors. So as the number of laborers are increasing, the production level also increases, that is 10 units, 24 units, 40 units, 50 units, 56 units, and again it is remaining same 56 and then it starts decreasing. So here the question arises, why it is increasing and then it starts decreasing? So as the number of laborers are increasing. You can observe that in this stage, that is when 1 unit of labor is employing, production is 10 units. As you increase the laborers, so maximum the production is 56. That means for 1 acre of land with the 10,000 investment, maximum number of laborers required is 5 units. So that is why the maximum production is 56 units. Because the land is capable of producing only this maximum 56 units of production. Further, in order to increase your production, keeping the fixed factors same and you are increasing only the labor, your production will not increase, it remains the same. And further, if you keep on adding the variable factor, your production will not increase, it goes on decreasing, diminishing. So that we are going to study in this concept. So this difference in the production we can observe in the MP. You know that how to calculate the average product, already we discussed. Now in order to see what is the impact on the production, it's easy to see with the help of the marginal product. So first unit of labor, marginal production is 10 units, and second marginal production is 14 units, and for the third unit production is increasing at the increasing rate, that is 16. So till here you can observe that marginal production is increasing. Total production is also increasing at the increasing rate. And then from the fourth unit, production is increasing but at a diminishing rate. So here 50 minus of 40, 10 units. 56 minus of 50, 6 units. 56 minus 56, 0. So here you can observe that marginal production is decreasing. Here it is increasing. This increasing stage we call it as the first stage. We call it as increasing returns to scale. And from here it is decreasing. We call it as the second stage of production, decreasing returns to scale. And in the third stage, you can observe that. So when you keep on increasing your variable factor, the production will not increase, it will decrease, and marginal product becomes negative. So this is the third stage of production. We call it as negative returns to scale. The same thing can be shown with the help of the diagram. So this is a two-dimensional diagram. So we take the x-axis and the y-axis. In the x-axis, we mention the variable factor. So here the variable factor is labor. So this side we are mentioning labor. And here the output TP, AP and the MP. So observe the point, that is from the origin O to R, TP is increasing. So here the TP is increasing at the increasing rate. So this is the first stage of production. So in this first stage, you can also observe that MP is increasing, AP is also increasing. And the very interesting point here is AP is below the MP and MP is more than the AP in the first stage. And this F is a point of inflection. And after R, the second stage begins, R to H. So in the second stage, TP is increasing but at a diminishing rate. And in this stage, AP is decreasing, MP is also decreasing. But all the three curves are positive. It is above the x-axis. And when it reaches the maximum point, 56 units, here we mention it as H. So after reaching the maximum point, total production starts decreasing. So this is our third stage. So in the third stage, you can also observe that AP is decreasing, MP is also decreasing and moves below the x-axis. So that is why it is becoming negative. So this stage we call it as the negative returns, third stage. First stage, second stage and the third stage. In the first stage, TP, AP and MP increases. In the second stage, TP increases at a diminishing rate, AP and MP decreases but remains positive. In the third stage, TP decreases, AP decreases, MP becomes negative. So these are the three important stages in the law of variable proportions. Coming to the shapes of TP, AP and MP curves. In the first diagram, you can observe that TP is positively sloped curve. That is, it increases in the first stage at an increasing rate, and in the second stage, it increases at a diminishing rate, and in the third stage, it decreases, but even though it is a positively sloped curve because it is above the x-axis. And in the second diagram, we can observe the shapes of AP and MP. The shapes of AP and MP both increases in the beginning and then starts decreasing. So that is why it is U-shaped. The second important theory of production, we call it as the law of returns to scale. So we already discussed that in the long run, all the factors of production can be changed. It explains the relationship between the input and output in the long run and explains the behavior of output when the quantities of all inputs are changed in the same proportion. Here we study the behavior of production when all the inputs are changed in the same proportion. Here the production process can be studied in three important stages. First stage, increasing returns to scale. Second stage, constant returns to scale. Third stage, diminishing returns to scale. The law of returns to scale can be explained with the help of a schedule and the diagram. So in this diagram and in this table, you can observe that we have taken labor and capital, and it's not mandatory to change all the factors of production. There is a possibility of changing all the factors of production, and here we are assuming only labor and capital we are changing, and the other two factors we are not showing here. Let me take it as fixed. So when we increase both the labor and capital in the same proportion, the total product also increases. In the first stage, we know that the total production increases in the increasing state. So this can be shown with the help of the marginal product. So here the marginal product increases from 4, 6 and 8. So this stage we call it as the increasing returns to scale. In the second stage, as we increase the labor and capital, total production also increases, but at the constant rate. Here you can observe that 28 minus of 18, 10, 38 minus of 28, 10, 48 minus of 38, 10, 58 minus of 48, 10. So here the production is increasing, but at the constant rate that we can observe in the MP. So this stage we call it as the second stage of returns to scale. We call it as CRS. And the last one, here you can see that as you increase the inputs, the production is increasing but at a decreasing rate. This decreasing rate we can observe in the marginal production. That is, it is increasing from 65, 70, 74, and the MP is 7, 5 and 4. So this stage we call it as the diminishing returns to scale. So the same thing can be shown with the help of a diagram. So it's a two-dimensional diagram. On the x-axis we show the input of labor and capital, and on the y-axis we are showing the output. So in the first stage, 1 unit of labor and capital, 2 units and 3 units of labor and capital, the production increases to 4, 6 and 8 units. Later on the production remains, MP remains the same, 10 units, and in the third stage it starts decreasing. So this is about the law of returns to scale. Thank you for listening patiently. To be continued.